Welcome, yogis. My name is Kathy Paez. I'll guide you through a 30-minute practice today, all focused on supine yin yoga poses. So we'll just be laying on our back the whole class. You will need some wall space to help make some of those poses more comfortable. And make sure you have any other tools that you need, such as blocks, bolsters. I will be using my phone for the timer to make sure we get just the right amount of time on each side. And let's go ahead and start. You'll just sit next to the wall on your heels. That's how close you are to the wall, depending on the intensity you would like. So really close to the wall if you know that you have the flexibility for most of these poses. If it's easy for you to do most of these poses on the ground, then that's how you know that's an indicator. If it's a little bit hard to do forward bends, then you might want to just kind of come away from the wall, maybe about one hand distance or whatever, as you test and see whatever is necessary for you. So you're just gonna sit and then go ahead and place those legs on the wall. Cross the right ankle over the left thigh. We'll hold for 3 minutes. So notice that the pose actually already starts in this precise moment. There is an external rotation of that right leg, so the femur finds an external rotation. Doesn't mean you have to push the knee away. You just already start by just placing that ankle over the thigh. And if you want to add more, then you're gonna bend that left leg. Whatever intensity is right for you. So the further down you slide that left heel, the more intense the stretch is going to be for you. Your hips might lift off the ground. We're not too worried about that. And you want to feel that you're stretching and stressing the tissues of the gluteal group. So you're going to feel on the outside of that right thigh. Your arms can be in whatever position is most comfortable for you, alongside your body, over your head. Take a deep breath in and then exhale through your mouth. Settling in a little bit more into the ground. Becoming very comfortable with gravity. Noting that for this whole class, you will not need to fight gravity at any point. You'll just allow yourself to melt into the earth. As time passes by. If your right knee starts to hurt at any point, you might have to either straighten a little bit more that left leg. And also notice if you're forcing that right leg out too much, because this will add too much stress on the knee sometimes if your hip doesn't have that external rotation. And for some people, it helps to even place that right foot slightly in flex. You can just try different things, see what works for you. Remember, your knees are never a target area. We're going into the end of that last minute. Coming out of the pose, straightening first the left leg and then bringing that right leg also towards the wall. Just take a moment to feel the rebound, which is just a way of saying feel the effects the pose had on your body. Go on to prepare the other side. So you're going to cross that left ankle over the right thigh. Notice that the pose starts in this precise moment because we are just starting to form the play with a segment of movement that will help us go a little bit deeper in towards that target area. For some people, this is effective, and this is already a place where they can feel that stretch, and this time on the left gluteal group, so it's the outside of the thigh. IT band as well can kind of get a slight stretch, but it's a little bit further back towards your buttocks where you want to feel the stretch. Go ahead and start bending that right leg, sliding that right heel down. So the further you slide the heel down, the more external rotation that left leg needs. And if you feel like that left knee starts to kind of hug into your chest, don't fight that too much. Maybe just kind of see where the hip needs to go, even from that place. Both sides of the hips do not need to be grounded into the earth. Make sure that left knee is free of any pain. We don't want knee pain at any point. And for less intensity, sometimes the indicator is that knee coming up towards your chest. You're going to slide that right heel slightly away. This could help you ease off from that external rotation, flexion of the left femur. So there's a moment at the beginning of the hold where we find our sweet spot. And then eventually we just release into the pose. Release, especially in the case of supine poses, into gravity. And if you feel like you're still holding on to something, you might need the breath to help you. And go ahead and take a long inhale through your nose. Exhale from the mouth. One time, 2 times, or 3 times. And then coming back into stillness, into your quiet edge in the pose. Our final moments in this hold. You can go ahead and straighten that right leg, straighten the left leg, feeling into the rebound. And making our way in towards a frog pose with the wall. So just go ahead and separate your feet and then bend your knees. So it's almost like you start in a squat position, malasana position, for those of you more familiar with the Sanskrit terms. So from this squat position, what I want to stress right now, and I use stress in the positive term, is the inside of the thighs. So the adductor group is where we want to feel the stretch. So from here, I'm going to have to bring those knees a little bit further away and then start to bring the feet, outer edge of the feet, touching the wall. And so for some people, this is enough. And for some people, this is, for various reasons, just the best version of the pose. Sometimes we don't have a lot more space to straighten our legs out. Sometimes this is it because the inside of the knee gets sensitive in dragonfly pose with the wall. That's why I'm giving this version. But if you work with dragonfly, you can also go ahead and just straighten both legs out. this is a comfortable hold for you, and you could also do dragonfly instead. And as you're holding whichever pose you have chosen to be in, remember it's okay to move around a little bit in the first couple of seconds while we're finding our quiet edge. Then at some point, I do recommend committing to that stillness. Maybe before you make that commitment, it's also the time to take a couple of deep inhales and exhale through the mouth. So this pose we are holding for a full 4 minutes. If at any point the holds feel like they're too long for you, you can always come out of the pose if you need it before time's up. The time is just a suggested. And from that suggested time hold, it could be less, it could be more. Of course, you will tug more on the connective tissue the longer you hold, but not because you hold less time. There are no benefits for your body. So remember, in a yin yoga practice, we are looking to stress the yin tissues of the body, the fascia, the connective tissue, such as the ligaments and the tendons. And this happens with any relaxed, passive stretch. When we go into these longer holds, interesting sensations can arise. And while there are certain forms of tingling that are part of this practice, any type of tingling sensation that you feel in your arms or in your legs, as if they were falling asleep, these are not desired sensations. So in this case, at any point, if this is what you feel, please do come out of the pose. But any tingling sensation closer to your torso, those are perfectly normal as a part of the experience. More specifically, even kind of inside the torso, sometimes you can feel slight tingling sensations in the pelvic floor, or the lower abdomen in the case of this pose. And while I am suggesting that you might be feeling these sensations, this is not the same experience for everybody. You're not necessarily looking for these sensations. And slowly help yourself with your hands to bring your knees again closer together. And then straighten both legs up towards the sky. So we will rebound now laying on our backs. And just go ahead and shift your hips away from the wall, back onto your mat. And go ahead and just lay for a moment in your Shavasana rebound. We sometimes refer to this pose as star pose, star gazing at the sky. In Paul Grilly's book, referred to it as pentacle. And take note that the rebound is yours. So you could also choose to just lay on one side, lay on your belly, however feels most comfortable for you. And now we'll continue on towards bananasana pose. And we'll hold each side of bananasana about 4 minutes. So you start bananasana by laying on your back. If you went into rebound in any other pose, just go ahead and come back onto your back. Bring your feet together. And just for a starting point, bring your arms closer to your body. Just kind of notice the position of your spine. So bananasana is a lateral flexion of the spine, and you want to feel that you're stretching the oblique muscles, possibly maybe the tensor fascia lata, so the TFL. You're on the outside, slightly front side of the hip. But this experience in this pose also changes a lot from one person to another. So you'll step your feet towards the right, and then just bring your shoulders as well towards the right. So I'm starting just from this base point, not using my arms in any way. You anchor your feet either crossing the right ankle over the left or the left ankle over the right. Again, this also varies a lot from one person to another. And then from here, notice we're already starting to stress the outer part of the torso and the outer edge, the lateral edge also of the hip. So this is good for some people, but you might want to bring that left arm over your head. You might want to bring that right arm over your head to meet that left hand. I kind of sometimes like to place the weight, in this case, of my right hand on my left to kind of anchor in. But for some people, this is immediately uncomfortable, or they feel like a pinching sensation in the shoulder, in which case you're going to lower that left arm and not have it be so overhead. And in which case from there as well, from your right hand, you can either just bring it next to your body facing down, so it's just alongside your body. Your face can also rest towards the right or towards the left. See what that torsion of the cervical region, so the twisting of the cervical region, adds to this lateral flexion. And once we're done exploring all of our options and kind of gauging where we can find our quiet edge, that's when you might want to again go into your breath. Long inhale and even longer exhale. Really committing to gravity, becoming friends with gravity as you hold this pose. You're just feeling a gentle stress on that left side. Make sure to relax your face, your chin, your eyes. There's no form of those little tensions that sneak up on us, clenching our jaw, or squinting the eyes, or squinting in between your eyebrows. Just make sure you're really releasing all expression from your face. And then we're going into the final minute.
always trying to find inner space of comfort with the silence and the stillness. To come out of the pose, first we'll kind of place our face back, gazing towards the sky. So whatever position you chose with your neck, coming back to center, and then from there, if you need help, sometimes the arms, in this case, sometimes I have to actually help myself with one arm to just kind of gently nudge the other arm back. Notice this is all very common in a yin practice, to feel that as we stress the connective tissue, it holds in a certain position, and then to come out of the pose, we really have to nudge it slowly. So then you can uncross your ankles and walk back to center, and just take a moment to feel the difference between the right and the left side of your body. Note there's no specific forced time that we have to hold with the rebound. We'll hold a longer rebound at the end of the practice. Let's prepare for the other side. So now again, I just bring my feet together, my arms are alongside my body, and then I'm going to walk with my heels and my feet towards the left. Lift my shoulders and bring them towards the left. So just keep the hips planted towards that initial point. And then see from here how you want to anchor your feet down. If it's crossing the left ankle over the right, or the right ankle over the left. So I really, truly always with my students see a huge difference here with what feels comfortable. So don't feel at any point you have to look like my pose. Please really explore the options I'm giving you in the poses. So that left hand can continue to just remain alongside the body towards the earth, or we can lift both arms over the head and slightly out towards the left. So then we're just making sure that the arms are also a little bit more active as levers here, passive levers. Everything in all these poses have really truly been in a passive form, just allowing gravity to do its magic. It's gravity and time and patience. Remember that where your face is either gazing up or down, really, for some people, make a huge difference in the experience of the pose. So just go ahead and explore whatever your neck needs. And once we're able to commit to that gentle edge that we have found, we'll be taking a couple of deep breaths and making sure we're not creating any form of unnecessary tension in the form of expression of your face. So you're relaxing your forehead, your jaw, your tongue, your cheeks. And you should feel that the breath, the expression of your breath as time goes by, becomes softer and softer. resting in awareness. And finding yourself comfortable with any form of solitude that arrives from being still and being quiet with your body. And there's no rush. Help yourself however is needed to come back to center with your torso, with your legs. The rebound can be in your classical shavasana, just laying on your back with the palms of the hands facing up. The feet spread apart as much as they need to be. But please take note that in a functional approach to yoga, our shavasana can also be laying on our side or laying on our belly. You do want to make sure you are comfortable. You can go ahead and place as many blankets as you need to. Or if you need your socks or sweater. Although this is usually what we need in general to practice yin yoga practice, depending on where you are right now as well and what the weather is like. Please continue in your resting pose. You can stay as long as you need to in your shavasana. Thank you for your time. And thank yourself for taking the time to be with yourself for these moments. Namaste.